Hello, welcome to Off-Grid Thoughts channel. This is going to be part two of the Delco 10SI alternator front bearing. So, uh, part two, uh, front bearing excessive side play. Part two. So, I went ahead, if you watched my first video on this topic, I had excessive play in the front bearing, so I went ahead and replaced with a new bearing. Now it's silky smooth, like really smooth. And now I just have just a little bit of movement, just a little bit, not like extreme rocking back and forth like it was. Um, so that's normal if you have a little bit. If it's just kind of doing that, no big deal, not a problem. Because even a brand new good bearing, it's going to move a little bit. So again, very normal. And if you've got a decent rear end bearing, which is a needle roller bearing, if you have a decent bearing on that side, it'll just hold it in place. But if you've got a lot of wobble on your pulley and fan, you probably have a bearing that's too loose. Um, so, but on this one, I went ahead and I hand painted the fan, hand painted the pulley. Um, I don't really paint the inside where the belt goes. You can. I usually don't do that, but if you do paint the inside, you want to really hold the can far away and just get a very light coat. Not you don't want it to be thick in there. But I usually don't do it. I avoid that. Um, but this is going to be a real nice unit once I'm done with it. I am considering hand painting this, even though it has a coating on it, a cleared coating. I'm considering hand painting this with high heat paint. I probably will before I reassemble. Um, I've still got to replace the bearing in this rear case, so I'll go ahead and take that bearing out, and that'll probably be my next step. But um, new bearing in the front pretty much solved the issue. Um, Sometimes you have a shaft that's a little bit out of spec, so if you have one of those and you know you've got a good bearing that's not too loose, it might be that, might be the rotor. This one is kind of a barely thing. It's a little bit smaller than I would like, but it's now that I added the new bearing, it's perfectly acceptable. The bearing pretty much solved it, but um, I wish it did fit a little bit tighter. But once I put in a good end bearing, it's going to be fine. Um, I've rebuilt ones that were way worse than this one, so. Um, but if you hand paint the rotor, um, you want to be extremely careful you don't get any paint in the windings of the wires. Um, So I usually limit my paint to this area. I try not to get into any other areas. Just try to keep it on the main rotor body, and always put like a paper towel around and wrap it with tape so I don't get any paint on this. Because once this coating starts to come off, it'll start to rust in spots, and then what'll happen is you'll end up in a situation where rust particles will start flying around and getting everything mixing with dust, and it'll get everything dirty. So that helps. I actually painted a rotor earlier from a different alternator I'm rebuilding. Turned out pretty well. But these alternators, even when you buy them brand new, and I've said this before in previous videos, even if they're brand new, you never know what you're going to find when you open these up. They might be perfectly fine, or they might not be. So that's why I always go through and rebuild it, even if they're brand new. All right, everybody. Hope that was helpful and interesting, and thanks for watching.